This is not clickbait. Trust me, your rehearsals are likely destroying your performances. But yet, rehearsals can also be beneficial if you're doing it the right way. You are gonna wanna hear what I have to say because this could just change everything for you. Rehearsals in and of themselves are not the problem. But I have seen a lot of actors, I would venture to say most actors, especially at the beginning of their careers, are rehearsing improperly, and therefore it is affecting their performances negatively. Now, obviously we know rehearsals are good and they are valuable and they serve a purpose on a set or as part of production before we get into filming. In fact, you can see from this video that we have David Fincher, Aaron Sorkin, and the lead actors in The Social Network in rehearsals prior to filming. But they're talking about wrestling with the script and finding different ideas and interrogating dialogue and why a character would do this and that. And they're hearing it out loud in a way where they can start to see it come together and decide what's working and what's not working as they start to make adjustments so that by the time they get to it, it's gonna play exactly as they want. So that's rehearsals good. Here's rehearsals bad and what most actors are doing, especially at the beginning of their careers. Hey, do you guys like free stuff? Sometimes you get what you pay for. But sometimes it's actually just good stuff that's free. This one is in that category. We are giving you guys our scene breakdown checklist. And it's what we use for all of our actors here at the studio to have them look at scenes objectively, make choices, and find a way to connect themselves emotionally to their material and to their characters. And you can get this right now for free. If you would like to grab that, you can in the link below. And there's also a video of me explaining this process, 30+ minutes, detail by detail, step by step. All right, if you want that, go grab it. Let's get back to it. I think actors think a rehearsal is let's get together and let's just run this thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And what they end up doing in that process is they start to solidify and cement in a certain pace, a certain delivery, and a certain performance. And they're locking that in. And so they go, okay, that was good, let's do it again. And they say that certain line a certain way in a certain performance. And they do it again. They say that certain line in a certain way in a certain performance. A certain line in a certain way in a certain performance. And they do this over and over again. And then when that rehearsal gets to being on set, then all of a sudden they call action and they go, I'm gonna say this line in a certain way in a certain performance. But it's dead. There's nothing. They've locked themselves into just saying a certain line a certain way with a certain performance. They're not in the moment with their co-star. They're not listening. This thing is not alive. It's rehearsed, it is dull, and it is dead. I've worked with enough actors to know that once they've got themselves to that point of rehearsal, it is almost impossible to break them of that delivery, of that performance, of that pacing. They can't hear it and break out of that mold that they have already created. And so you are robbing the director of their ability to actually go in there and direct a scene, to get new moments to happen, to bring this thing to life and let it breathe like it's happening for the very first time. So you want to make sure that you are not over-rehearsing your scene. See, that time spent in rehearsal should be spent talking about the scene itself, talking about different choices that you're making, because you want to come up with things that are provoking the performance in the moment. And you're testing things out, going, okay, well, I could try this, and I wonder if that would work. And you're spending time in that rehearsal figuring out what makes sense, what works really well. You are not going, that works really well, let's do it again and 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 again without changing anything, because again, you're locking in a performance at that point in time. It's also worth noting, when you're practicing, when you're rehearsing a scene, your memorization should be a separate thing than your performance. And I think as actors start to run lines and rehearse, sometimes they're taking those two elements and they are, again, marrying them together. So the performance or the dialogue is not independent of that rehearsal, and it needs to be. We got to have that separation. So if you're just trying to rehearse for the sake of getting your lines down, then we should really try to be saying those lines flat. You're just bouncing lines back and forth, flat. No delivery, no performance in it, no emotional point of view behind it, just bounce lines back flat. Flat, 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 flat. Why? Because you were intentionally making an effort to not cement it into a certain performance. Again, a certain line delivery, which is going to cement those two things together. So, if you are rehearsing, memorize separately. If you are playing around with different elements of the structure for your work, you can do that in a rehearsal. But again, separate these things out. Once you find the performance, you got to trust that. This is an important part for actors. It's like if you created a structure for the work, and in all of that preparation, you have found what is right and what works. You don't need to keep going, okay, it worked then, let's test it again. Oh, yep, it still worked. Okay, let's test it again. Oh, yep, it still worked. If it worked then, it's going to work there. You just have to trust that process. So I always say, over-prepare, but do not over-rehearse. If you've been rehearsing like this, you got to break out of that. So you want to take this stuff to heart. You want to memorize separately. You don't want to over-rehearse a scene over and over and over again, because you are going to cement in that performance and make it impossible for new things to happen in that scene when you are on set performing it. And again, you do not want to ruin the director's ability to give you direction and make it what it needs to be the day of filming as well. So, when you go into your next scene or your next performance, try to incorporate some of these tips so that you can be alive, fresh, and organic, and ready to take the direction from the director to make that scene what it possibly can be. All right, hope you guys got something out of this. I will see you guys on the next one.